What's up, everybody? It's your boy. If you live in the southern United States, or you've ever been, you will at least be vaguely familiar, most likely, with the beautiful orange safe haven in the urban interstate hellscape that is Whataburger. This regional fast food chain is so damn good, it is worth sitting in the drive-thru for what is inevitably going to be a 20-minute wait. I don't know why it takes so long, but for the sweet, tangy, spicy ketchup utopia of Whataburger, I would wait an hour. I would wait a week, okay? If you are familiar with Whataburger, you will also likely be familiar with the weird phenomenon of many people calling it Waterburger, which is one of the, single most annoying things on the planet to me. Why do you people do that? Waterburger? Are they putting water in the burgers? Grow up, okay? It's what a burger. It's what a burger. Like, this burger's so good. What a burger. Like, it is very simple, guys. It's so easy. AKA Reed from Shameless Nerd. Today's video, Hard Pivot, is about the beauty in nihilism, which is often misunderstood to be a very pessimistic and cynical philosophy. If you end up liking this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. You can also join these beautiful people on the screen right here by clicking the join button to become a member of the channel, whereupon you will get exclusive access to some members-only videos, as well as exclusive access to every video a few days early. You can also join the Shameless Nerd Discord at the link in the description, and you can email me with any questions, comments, concerns, or weird NFL football stats at readfromshamelessnerd@gmail.com. All right, let's get into it. Friedrich Nietzsche, which is how I'm going to decide to say that in this video, is often inaccurately credited as being the father of nihilism, an often memed and painfully misunderstood philosophical ideology about life being inherently meaningless and absurd. This philosophy, as simply put as possible, nihilism, is a belief that life is intrinsically, necessarily without meaning, that morality is baseless, and that knowledge is technically impossible. It's fun. Nihilism has seemed to gain some popularity in recent years as an increasing number of people seem to be disillusioned with modern society, with technocratically oppressive capitalism in the West, in the overstimulating and overbearing entertainment world we live in, coupled by an increase in secularism, scientific discovery, and consensus resulting in a less religious society, one that's becoming less optimistic, less excited, and in a bit of a worldwide existential crisis pandemic, which honestly I would prefer to the 2020 pandemic. COVID, you took my 24-hour Walmart, you son of a bitch. But in this increase in publicity for nihilism is a misunderstanding of its conclusions, a flattening of it. Nihilism is not generally, and with philosophy there's always exceptions because all of this shit is subjective, and also all of it is written and discussed by elderly contrarian white pricks, but generally nihilism is not a pessimistic philosophy. It's not intended to be deflating and depressing, and I understand that one could seemingly safely assume that it is when I just described it as being the philosophy of meaninglessness, baselessness, inevitable knowledgelessness, but that's not the final conclusion of nihilism. It's not a philosophy intending to prove life is stupid and nobody should care about anything. It starts with the presupposition that life is meaningless and then goes from there. Most nihilist philosophers did not like nihilism. Friedrich Nietzsche, by a wide margin, the most famous nihilist philosopher and owner of one of the most badass mustaches in human history, wasn't a nihilist. Nietzsche wrote so much about nihilism because he was trying to argue against it, kind of. It's a little more complicated than that, don't come for me, philosophy Twitter. But essentially, Nietzsche argued not that nihilism should necessarily be dismissed, but that it should be overcome and replaced. That nihilism was a legitimacy, but ultimately it was a hurdle over which we should endeavor to jump. In other words, Nietzsche and many other nihilists believe that meaninglessness is what gives life meaning. I'm stealing this from some random Redditor because I can readily admit when someone can explain something much better than I, so thank you, Top Down with Radio Loud, who 7 years ago in a random forum thread put it like this. According to Nietzsche, basically nihilists are still somewhat clinging to an old value system. Saying there is no truth is still assuming that some abstract concept like truth should be the only way to comprehend the world. These clinging on to the old systems of value are signs of weakness. Nietzsche calls for a revaluation of values. Nihilism is only overcome when the notions of truth and being are overcome, due to the fact that these notions were always going to deny a world of becoming, which is what is left. The creative instinct and creativity is much more compatible with the world of becoming, which is why Nietzsche holds art in such high regard. The existence of the world is justified only as an aesthetic phenomenon, which is from The Birth of Tragedy. The will to power, to create new values, is the overcoming of nihilism. That doesn't sound pessimistic to me. To me, that sounds deeply inspiring. If there is no truth, if there is no being, we're not missing truth and being. Truth and being do not exist. We can transcend truth and being. And to Nietzsche, that's our obligation. We must become. We must make ourselves exist then, if we don't already. Because ultimately, nihilism, like much of philosophy, as someone with a degree in philosophy, I feel qualified to say, is silly. It's metaphor, it's semantic, it's pedantic. Nihilists might believe that due to logical deduction and a string of if-then statements that we don't exist or that there's no meaning, but I do exist and there is meaning. So to Nietzsche, similarly, although he's certainly much smarter than I am, and I really struggle to comprehend a lot of Nietzsche's writing, so this is a gross oversimplification, but to Nietzsche, we don't exist, so we ought to start. And I think that's really beautiful. And that is at the core of so much of what I do and what I believe in. So much of my life is lived through the lens of me screaming at the world that I exist, that I matter. And it's what motivates me to make stuff. Music, art, poetry, these videos. It's what motivates me to be a good parent, to exist because I have helped to shape and mold a human being. It's what motivates me to be a teacher, to exist by working as hard as I can to have an effect on other humans in what is the most rapidly transformative and confusing time of their lives. I don't exist yet. So I'm working really hard to make that happen. That's so sick. Like, that gives me chills, man. And I am certainly not a nihilist. I disagree fundamentally with a lot of the logical foundations upon which nihilism is built, but embracing a little meaninglessness is not only motivating in that way, it's a great principle to help guide your decisions in life. It's a great way to remain humble and be existentially limber, to get through rough times, to love and be loved by the people in your life. Let me give you an example. So if I believe in a meaning to everything, if I'm insistent that everything happens for a reason, that events in life are meant to teach me a lesson. First of all, what a massively egotistical way to look at life, in my opinion, that the entirety of the world, that other autonomous humans exist as a means of your self-actualization. That's really kind of an icky view, I think it could be argued. But logistically, if I believe that everything has a deeper meaning, a purpose, I'm going to be paralyzed a lot of the time, waiting to interpret the sign I'm obviously being given, waiting to understand the meaning of what is happening to me. Being happy, the art of being happy, is extremely complicated, and there are very few definitive answers for that. But definitely part of being happy is making the most of your circumstances, practicing acceptance as best you can. And in order to accept what is happening around you, to make the most of it, to go with the flow, you can't view your life through a myopic lens as a series of events designed to teach you lessons. Sometimes shit just happens. And there have been times in my life that I've ended up with massive regrets because I held on to something searching for meaning in it when there was an opportunity that I misinterpreted as a sign one way or the other. And as always, I think there's balance to this, but I think it is often helpful to think of events, circumstances, opportunities, coincidences as random and arbitrary, because then you're able to be a little more objective and make a decision that's best for you in the long run, logistically speaking. And on the other end of the spectrum, trying to find meaning in every single thing, positive or negative, I think can be really harmful and toxic sometimes. This is a pet peeve of mine, and there's certainly some bias in this because of that. But for example, I really hate when there is a tragic death in your life, and then you go to the funeral and some family friend reads some scripture about the important life lesson we can all learn from this, that her death taught me to appreciate the ones that we have, and in Ephesians 14:15 it says this and that we can take solace in the fact that she's in a better place now, etc., etc. To me, trying to force meaning into a senseless tragedy like a young person dying, that's like saying, hey, don't be sad about this is a good thing. And that's pretty messed up, in my opinion. That's pretty whack to flatten some beautiful person's existence to, again, a learning experience for someone else. When I die, I don't want to be a learning experience or a life lesson. I want to be a person who loved and was loved. And that is the meaning. That is the lesson. That's, in my interpretation, the becoming that Nietzsche talked about. Transcending meaning is how you arrive at a meaning. And further, embracing meaninglessness, looking purposelessness in the face and saying, that is my purpose, is one of the most powerful ways to arrive at presence in the moment, at mindfulness, which is irrefutably healthy, inarguably, literally good for you, to be present in your body, to be mindful, to meditate or whatever. I'm gonna talk more about that in my next video, actually. I think about it like this. Some would argue that meaninglessness existence would be a waste, right? But in a meaningless existence, there is no waste. There is only what is. An author by the name of Mickey that I found on Medium, and I'll link to an article in the description, put it super profoundly like this. A song will end. Was it not worth hearing? A meal will be eaten. Was it not worth tasting? A sunset will fade. Was it not worth watching? Life too will come to an end, but does that make it any less worth living? My God. And again, I'm going to defer to someone who just says what I'm trying to say better than I could and read a little further from this article. Not everything needs a grand reason to be worthwhile. Joy is enough. Connection is enough. The night sky, the laughter of friends, the warmth of the sun on your skin, none of these things serve some higher function, yet they are deeply valuable simply because they are. This is why the idea of a wasted life doesn't hold up. If you spend your life doing things that make you happy, that make you feel alive, how could that be a waste? Read that article. It's amazing. I don't know how this person only has 15 followers on Medium. And quick side note, how beautiful is it that the internet contains stuff like this for 15 followers, that someone would put that much thought and such poignance and wisdom, in my opinion, just because they want to. That's what the internet is for to me. That's the alive internet theory in action. Anyway, this internalization of meaninglessness, this acceptance of the absurdity, the arbitrariness of life is deeply freeing and deeply beautiful. And with this as the paradigm, as the lens through which you choose to see the world, that beauty, that freedom is the purpose. It is the meaning that you're searching for. That's Nietzsche's idea of becoming. It lights a fire under me to think that existence could be meaningless, denying the legitimacy of a grander purpose, of a big picture, of right and a wrong answer. What could possibly be more freeing than that? My meaning, my purpose is mine. And I can spend the rest of my life in pursuit of what that is for me without having to worry if I'm picking the wrong answer, what my life grade will be, right? And I think that's really beautiful. And in truth, for me personally, I don't subscribe to nihilism in full either. I think it's a little faulty. I kind of logically really struggle to believe that there is no purpose for all of this, that there could be a capacity to appreciate the subjectivity of beauty in a world where that beauty exists for nothing. But I am a lot more prone to believing in like a middle ground approach. The more of these videos I research, the more I think about these big existential topics, the more that I look for answers to like big shit, the more that I think that the annoying ass answer to everything is balance. Diet, exercise, happiness, relationships, self-improvement, parenting, everything is about learning about the validity in arguments on both of the most radical ends of the spectrum and then finding the balance in between them. You can't eat McDonald's every day because that's going to kill you, but you can't eat nothing but celery because you'll shrivel up and bitch, you're going to look like some celery. In this context about meaninglessness, nihilism, I believe in an importance of finding a balance. I don't believe that nothing matters, but I certainly don't believe that everything does. I also don't know what does and doesn't matter, but I'm super excited by the fact that I don't have to, and I am embracing that and finding my own meaning for stuff. I do have a tendency to believe that things do tend to happen for a reason, but instead of that reason being like a predetermined puzzle that I'm supposed to figure out, I believe in things happening for a reason that I get to project onto them. Everything happens for a reason that I get the beautiful opportunity to create. The lessons I learned then, the steps towards self-actualization I get to take based on the things that happen to me, are retrospective. Other people are real people just like me, and they don't exist so I, the center of the universe, can learn from them. But they do exist, things do happen to me, and when they do, I get to learn lessons, I get to take steps towards self-actualization. And likewise, if art means something. It's not art, it's a sentence diagram, which as an English teacher is an art of its own, but hopefully you get my point. This is the reason and the way that Nietzsche spent so much time and effort explaining the validity of nihilism so he could then argue that it's ultimately folly, something to overcome. Life does have meaning, it's just up to us to decide what that meaning is. And that rules. That's like an awesome sentiment. That's not cynical. Things might not have inherent meaning, but that is the beautiful blank slate upon which they get to mean something to me. If music had an intrinsic meaning, its significance to me would then be on track or off base, right or wrong. I am in pursuit of becoming. I am in the pursuit of possibly one day existing. And I think that's a really healthy, like, baseline fundamental belief. And I know that I'm insane, right? But this is what happens when you get off of social media. Do you know how much time I sit around with nothing to do but, like, think and write stuff down? Y'all are lucky I'm not more insane. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time. In today's post-video video, I am going to read a couple poems that I wrote. I haven't done this in a while, and it's a good way to motivate myself to write more poetry. When this channel hits 100,000 subs, I'm announcing this now, I'm going to self-publish a poetry book featuring these poems as well as some others I've shared on the channel in the past and some that I will inevitably write in the future. Okay, here we go. Death continued. I am, sadly, a realist. I believe in empiricism. I think that blind faith is irrational, and fairy tales are simply that. I find it important to back one's claims with research, to be led by evidence and not emotions like fear. I am a realist and empiricist. And therefore, I do not believe in death. It has never happened to me. I really like doing poems that set up to deliver a message you think is coming, and then instead you realize it's like a long-winded setup for a joke, but you also still get to kind of have the message through like osmosis, you know? I like that one. This one has a similar kind of thing going on. This is called Cautious Optimism. I put on the suit. It's black, slim-fitting, expensive, and rented. My friends pat me on the back in support, take their places. The song plays. I walk slowly, sweating, somber. The golden hour sun beats on my neck, but it's autumn or spring, so it isn't overbearing. Suddenly, everyone stands, turns, waits. A different song plays, and the most beautiful woman appears. That same sun illuminates you in a way that doesn't happen to anyone else, and you levitate. The trip down the aisle, 2 minutes, 47 seconds, 402 heartbeats, is infinite. And then, with your hand in mine, and eyes on mine, and heart in mine, I carry it with me, I get a nervous, sneaking suspicion. Certain, but unsure, but worried, but optimistic. As you say your vows, I just have to know for sure. Are you flirting with me? I'll do 2 more, one short and stupid one, and then the last one I'll do a little self-indulgent, more like serious and dark one. This one is so dumb, and it's one of my favorites. Spread eagle. That has to be the single wildest phrase I've ever heard. Spread eagle, LMFAO. And this last one, admittedly, is a little dark and sad and has a mention of suicide, so content warning, turn this video off now if you would like to. But here we go. How I assume it must take place. It is with great pleasure, sir, that I inform you of your daughter's passing. Yes, sir. Absolutely. I agree. Oh, devastated, assuredly. Yes, great news indeed. You will find in your morning mail a death certificate. What's more, your wife called. Yes, she was still referring to Jacqueline as such. Great pity indeed. However, she was distraught and has filed for divorce. Indubitably, yes, a congratulations is in order. You will surely have no one very soon. Oh, the letter. Yes, it was a suicide note of sorts, sir. The writing is smudged. Yes, I could make out the most of it. Yes, sir. I will relay. It reads as follows. I hope you're happy. Your son, Jack. Okay, see you next time. Love you. Bye.